Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. We're in kind of that quiet spot. Like spring break is over. The draft isn't for another 2 weeks. Hockey playoffs isn't for another couple weeks. Kind of that
No one gives a
weird
shit about stop.
little spot right there. You should watch some hockey. Put some hair on your nuts.
No.
Thank God there's UFC 300 this weekend. There's something
I'll watch that.
Get excited about because we're in a real dry spot right now. March Madness ends. Don't have the draft or playoffs yet. It's kind of that weird gap. Luckily, there's 13 like main event level fights on one fight card on Saturday.
Jesus, that card is loaded.
It's the fight card is opening with Cody Garbrandt versus Davison Figueiredo, two former champions.
Yeah, that fight card is more loaded than Tavondre Sweat.
Hey yo.
Oh.
Davison Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt together on fight night with the referee don't weigh as much as Sweat.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. There's no way.
A lot of mammal. A lot of mammal.
Broad-backed human being right there.
So Tim Brown got cut up on by the good people at silverandblackpride.com.
You always say that. Silver and
Bracken. And it's funny, like you always catch like retired players sometimes on the golf course. It's like, how am I going to find this guy? How am I going to talk to him? Find him on the golf course. And he was asked a couple things. The big thing he was asked about was what the Raiders should do at quarterback. And it's not like Tim Brown. Like there's ex-Raiders that are analysts, right? Like, you know, Rich Gannon guys. It's like, hey, I'm a paid analyst. I have my finger on the pulse of everything. And this is, you know, what I do. Tim Brown isn't really that guy. He's just enjoying retirement, just being a civilian, which is great. He's earned it, right? Playing golf and shit. But, you know, curious to know what Mr. Raider thinks about the quarterback situation for the Raiders. What are they going to do this offseason? Because it's probably the most complicated quarterback situation in the NFL. Like super quarterback needy teams are in like the top 3 or 4 teams that really could improve, but at least they have someone pretty good, or they're within striking distance, or they're definitely not within striking distance. The Raiders at 13 with 2 really, really good backups are in a weird, like such a weird spot, right?
Weird situation.
One of the most complicated quarterback situations in the league, I would say. So let's see what Tim Brown thinks. And he said, I don't want to give up the farm to get a quarterback, especially such there's no guarantees about any of them. If teams start asking for Davante Adams or Maxx Crosby, I don't want that to happen. Then you start talking about giving up future draft picks. That's scary too. They're in a tough position. Then he continues. Gardner Minshew, seems to be a very capable quarterback, and Aidan O'Connell is going to be a year better. So that might be the best way to go if you can't get it done in the draft. And then he ends with, they can't allow Davante Adams to play with guys who are just wearing jerseys. Just, you know, Jags, just whoever.
Jags, just guys.
And I'm not saying Minshew and O'Connell are those guys. They just need to have a quality player, whoever it is, playing with Davante. You can't waste that type of talent. So he said 3 pretty true things, but they're 3 completely opposite things. He's like, you can't bet the house and just pick whoever. And he goes with, well, the guys we got, they could probably get the job done. And then it's like, you know, the guys we got, they can't just be guys. You need a superstar to play with Davante. He said the 3 opposite things in one sentence.
I'm going to start off with this. I love Tim Brown. Even though he went to Notre Dame, he's one of my favorite Raiders of all time. Mm-hmm. He's full of shit.
Which part? He said 3 opposite things.
He's full of shit. First off, when he said, I'm not saying that Minshew and O'Connell are guys with jerseys. Yes, he is. Mm-hmm. Because if he didn't mean that, he wouldn't have to say it. Mm-hmm. Yes, he is saying that. And he's right in that respect. But he is saying that those guys are just guys wearing jerseys.
Yeah.
He knows more than anyone else what it's like to play with a bunch of stiffs at quarterback, because his first 10 years or so in the league, he was still breaking records and he was still the man, but he was playing with a lot of stiffs. And then when he started playing with Rich Gannon, things took off, right? Mm-hmm. So you ask him in his playing time, what would you want the team to do to get you a Rich Gannon in those 10 years before you got Rich Gannon? Mm-hmm. And he would change his tune. So
Well, he changed his tune twice in one interview with
Well,
one question. I think this is. I want to give Tim Brown a little bit more of a break than you because, I opened this whole thing up with Tim Brown isn't an analyst. His finger's not on the pulse. He hasn't had this conversation 5 days a week on his radio show to hash out his thoughts. Right? I think he's the exact example of how complicated the quarterback situation is. It's like, all right, we're at 13. It's going to cost an arm and a leg to get somebody. We got two guys that are pretty good. Yeah, but we got Davante Adams and some studs. We need a real stud back there. Like you could tell he was literally thinking through it as his mouth was moving. And so I'm not going to be quite as hard. I mean, you're like he said he contradicted himself 3 times, right? It was just like one thing, and then he ended with the opposite thing, and then said the middle thing in the middle. But that's how complicated and quirky the Raiders situation is. If you know what it is, but you haven't kind of like, we talk about this all day, every day. And so we've kind of found our route and what we're going to say and how we feel about things. I don't think Tim Brown does. I think Tim Brown's playing golf, hanging out with his family, being retired. And so when you hit him with what should the Raiders do at quarterback, this is the answer I think you get from most people who haven't really, really sat down and grinded for the last weeks in the situation.
If you look at what he said, he ended it with how he feels. You can't waste that type of talent. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean to go trade Davante? No, because that's the talent you're talking about. Trade Maxx? No. So he doesn't want to do that. Now, he didn't say he didn't want to do the trade to trade up future picks. He said it's scary. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you can't waste that type of talent. And if you're going in there,
what makes you say he ended with how he believed?
Because that was his conclusion. He talked through a bunch of things, and that's how he ended.
Okay. And I'm generally like the first thing you say is kind of what you think. Like if you're trying to catch like my 4-year-old when she's lying, it's the first thing she says, and then she kind of like tries to like wriggle out of it. I don't know. I couldn't tell you for sure which one was like for sure how he thinks, but I think he said 3 very true things. Like everything he said was true. Like what it's going to take to move up to get the guy we want is a scary proposal. Even if you're for it, you're like, yeah, it's going to cost. We're rolling the dice for sure. Davante does at his age, Maxx, this defense. We do need a guy, like not just a guy, the guy. Like we need a franchise quarterback. And it's also true. Gardner Minshew, like Aidan is going to be better. Like, how much better next season? I don't know. I think we all assume he's going to be better. What that grade is, who knows? And Minshew is a capable quarterback. He said 3 true things, but that's just how complicated the Raiders situation is. Like all 3 of those things can be true, but all 3 of those things mean completely different courses of action.
So I was thinking about this. When you have a quarterback, you need him to do certain things. And to be successful, he has to do certain things well. First and foremost, he has to be able to run your system. What does that mean? He has to be able to make the calls. He has to be able to go through his progressions, not just 1 and 2 check. He needs to be able to run the system the way it's supposed to be run. Mm-hmm. Also, he needs to be able to make the plays happen when things go wrong. Someone gets held, a defender gets, offensive lineman gets beat. They call the perfect defense. You need to make that off-schedule play. Now, on that off-schedule play, what percentage are you making that play? How many percentage of the time are you making it? If you're like a Josh Allen or like a Patrick Mahomes, like they're making that play 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of guys out there that can run your system. Mm-hmm. When everything goes right, they're pretty good. Right? When shit doesn't go right, and it happens a lot, what are they going to do? And the issue that I have with, just saying Aidan our guy and by golly, I'm good enough with it, is he doesn't have 2 of the things you need to really make those off-schedule plays. He can't extend plays because he can't run, and he can't make those tough throws because his arm's not good enough. Mm-hmm. So you're banking on him being able to beat teams consistently, good teams, by just running the offense. And it doesn't work that way. You have to be able to do other things, and he can't do that. And when he says you can't just have a guy in a jersey, I think that's what he means. Because you're not going to be on an NFL team if you can't run the offense. Okay, if you can't run the plays, but you don't have that extra to you. That's what separates even the really good from the elite quarterbacks out there. And I'm not convinced that Tim Brown really believes in his heart of hearts that the team shouldn't go try to get their guy, because he's a player and he knows what it's like to play with a bunch of stiffs.
Well, I know that's what you want, and so I can understand you thinking that's what Tim Brown wants. I don't know if his first or third statement is how he truly feels, but I do know his second statement was political. His second statement was, oh, man, these are like the quarterbacks of my team. I don't want to piss him off. Minshew and Aidan Minshew's capable, Aidan's going to be better. That was the political take. That was just like, all right, let me not piss off, QB 1 and 2 or QB 2 and 3 or whoever. Like 1 and 3, I don't know. Like, does he really think it's too rich to move up? Does he really think you should go all in for Davante and the guys? I'm not sure. He definitely does not think Gardner and Aidan are like, oh yeah, roll with those guys. We're fine. We're good.
So he knows. So if he feels like I feel, and I think you feel, the answer at quarterback is not on the squad right now, you have to get a guy. Mm-hmm. That's you just have to follow the logic. And is it scary? Yeah, it's scary, because you can definitely get it wrong. For sure, you can get it wrong. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, more often than not, if you don't go for that guy, you're not going to get that guy. You're not going to find him just sitting there in the third round. Like, it just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
And we talked about it like what was it? 94% of the quarterbacks the last 5 years in the AFC to make the playoffs are first rounders. Like, shit, man. Like, I don't know how much deeper we have to go other than that. So I understand where he's coming from, and I agree. Yeah, it's a scary proposition. But what else is a scary proposition is rolling out a couple of guys that you're just lukewarm on and basically punting on the season.
Yeah, I don't think they plan on going in with people that are lukewarm on. I don't know, man. It keeps haunting me that AP is just like, we'll win it with defense. We'll win it with Carlson's leg. Just don't make turnovers. Like, I can just see him thinking that. Like, just like, not that he wants that. He's like, yeah, this is.
I mean, it may happen. Look, we have the big six, right, that need quarterbacks. The top 3 picks. Then you have the Vikings, and you have the Broncos, and you have us, right? So there's the big 6. But then you have these sneaky teams. You have like Seattle, who may want to, make a little something happen. You have, the Rams, who, it's a wonder that Stafford can still move his neck. Mm-hmm. You have the Jets. You don't know how long freaking Aaron Rodgers is gonna play. Like, you have these other teams out there that are these fringe teams that, like, yeah, they have a quarterback now, but the situation isn't solid, and they may be inclined to take a guy early in the second to move up, or maybe even trade back into the first to get an extra year, because that's what makes it so
complicated, man. That's what makes it so.
That's why it's tough, man. It's tough because you have those big 6, right? There's 6 top quarterbacks out there that people think are the top 6, right? And there's 6 really needy teams. Okay, there's that, but then there's other peripheral teams who are like, maybe sneak in there and, okay, we got a guy, we can sit him for a couple of years. It's a good gamble, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what makes it so tough, man. It's really sticky situation. I'm glad we have somebody that has experience in drafting and has a lot of relationships built with other GMs and other franchises to be able to kind of get the feel of what's going on. Because if we had like Mayock and no one wanted to deal with him. Like, they were just like, whatever. He's an afterthought. So that's one thing I am glad we have Telesco, because it is definitely a wheel and deal.
It's a wheel and deal situation. I mean, staying put might be how it ends up, just with how things go on the top. But again, like, we had this conversation a million times, right? We both want a franchise quarterback and willing to make a move. It's just how many drafts are you willing to roll the dice on to do one right now? And that's the Telesco decision. He's got to be like, this is my limit for this guy. This is my limit for that guy. Figure out how long I can go. Well, as we start getting closer and closer to the draft, just a little over 2 weeks away, it'll be exactly 2 weeks away by the time you guys are listening to this. It is lying season. The vast majority of what you read, hear, smell, touch is bullshit. Or at least mostly bullshit.
Or you could be like Tim Brown and just say everything.
Or just hit every point, and you're always right? Something Tim Brown said is going to be correct. You know what I mean? But what we're at is There is so much misinformation out there. I'm not pretending to have sources. Soto and I aren't pretending to be in these draft rooms or, not have, like the GMs texting us late at night, letting us know what they're doing.
It'd be
But
a lot cooler if they did.
But I do know media. I've been working in this for 20 years. I do know bullshit, and I do know how the media works. I know coaches, GMs, owners, they have their writers that they have say things that they want. They put things in certain ways. If you're drafting a quarterback, you don't want people to know that. If you're not drafting a quarterback, you want people to think you are, so you can get some trade value. That's just all misinformation. And when the stakes are this high, the bullshit is highest. Why is politics all theater? Because the stakes are through the roof. Why, when there's a negotiation between CEOs to merge two Fortune 500 companies, it comes out of nowhere and you really don't know what happened? It's because they are super tight-lipped about what's happening, and the only thing that gets leaked is misinformation. The stakes of the draft are so high. Truth rarely comes out in its purest form. It's rarely pure, uncut cocaine that you're snorking. It's littered with fentanyl, and you have to find where the truth is.
On a lot.
Yeah, it's bad. So luckily for us, over the years, I have been in the lab, and I invented the Truthometer. I take information and reports from media members, coaches, scouts, armchair quarterbacks on the comment section in YouTube while taking a dump. And this Truthometer is able to tabulate from 1 to 5 the level of truth to this report. 1 being it's completely bullshit. Number 5, it's rock solid. You can swear on it like the Bible. So we got 9 reports that we're going to go through. And we're going to run them through the Truthometer and figure out what they are. All right, see how true they are. Number 1. Jerod Mayo, coach of the Patriots. He says it's a process. It's not only about the quarterback. Obviously, you want to have that QB1 and build around him, but it doesn't always happen what you want. Look, we could bring a quarterback in here, and he may not be ready to play realistically. That's why we have a guy like Jacoby Brissett coming along. Jacoby is great. Basically, Jerod Mayo is saying the Pats may not go quarterback at number 3. Put in the Truthometer.
That is a 3.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. I can see Mayo being a little bit more of a defensive guy. I think that the franchise really does like Jacoby Brissett. Hell, I had his name floating around before we signed Garoppolo last year as a guy that can come in and, kind of steady the ship if we don't draft a quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they're very comfortable with Jacoby Brissett if somebody wows them with an offer. I think they're comfortable with Brissett and kind of, being able to roll him out. Because honestly, look, this team needs a lot. They don't have this whole, the draft strategy of like, let's just accumulate a bunch of picks. Those picks that you accumulate normally aren't really good ones. They're further down the road, and they're lacking a lot of playmaking ability on both sides of the ball. So are they solid? Yes, but they don't have a lot of playmakers. So they need to get a lot more high-end talent on their team. Having a quarterback with not a lot of talent around them, especially a young one, is not a recipe for success.
The Pats definitely do not think Brissett is the guy, but he is a guy. They want to draft a quarterback, but they can be bought out of this situation. And Mayo's making that out there. He's making that point out. Like, they're probably going quarterback. I think Mayo's 90% sure they're going quarterback unless someone comes up with just a screaming deal. The Raiders are like, here's 3 firsts and Maxx Crosby or something. Like, he wants that to be out there. So like, we can't be bought. He wants that to be out there. He wants people to know, like, we are open for business, but they're going quarterback. They're going quarterback.
Yeah, it's like every time I see this scenario, I think of Jacoby Brissett. Go ahead, make my day. Like, you should just give him an offer.
Next one, Albert Breer reports. One interesting thing I've picked up on making calls this week. Coaches seem to be higher than scouts on Washington quarterback Michael Penix in general. Some have him ahead of the presumed top guys, excluding Caleb Williams. Albert Breer, coaches are saying Penix is the number 2 quarterback in this draft. Truthometer.
That is absolute bullshit. That's a 1. That's a terrible take.
Truthometer had smoke coming out of its exhaust when it was running that machine.
The truthometer went like this. Like, dude.
Yeah, 1.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here with that. No, there's a lot to like about Penix. A lot. The issue that I have is when he's pressured, he's a different quarterback. We saw it in the national championship game. This dude was sacked like freaking 6 times the entire year. Okay, so he had, partially it's because of the quick release he has, but he throws the ball deep a lot as well. But he had an extraordinary line in front of him. When he got a lot of pressure against Michigan, he was a different quarterback. When he didn't have the line that he had at Washington, at Indiana, he didn't finish 4 seasons there. He got, knocked out of 4 different seasons. So I would slow down about that. I think he has a lot of tools. I'm not saying he can't be a really good, or he can't perform as the best quarterback in this class in the pros. I'm not saying that, but as a prospect coming out of college, he's definitely not number 2.
This is the veteranship of Albert Breer. The way, because you can tell he's like, I kind of owe Michael Penix's agent 1. He gave me a scoop, so I got to like pump him up. So he coined it like, oh, coaches are higher on Penix than scouts. So like the scouts are putting the reports, but the coaches, I found this other group that's all about Michael Penix, that he's the number 2 quarterback in the draft. That's what I think happened. Is like, because it might be true. It might be true that like maybe coaches seem to be a little higher than scouts, but he's not going number 2. Like there's no momentum for Penix jumping over Mayo or May and Daniels and all these guys. Like that's not happening. But fair play to you, Breer. You figured out a way to make it look that way without making a blatant lie.
Good for you,
Not
buddy.
Bad. Not bad. Next one. Jim Harbaugh thinks J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in this draft. He said this multiple times. This is just the latest thing he said. I've said it before, and I think it's well documented. I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. That's just what I think. It's my opinion. He's the one who plays quarterback the best. Of all the quarterbacks that are in the draft, there are great quarterbacks in the draft. But I think he plays quarterback the best of any quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, that's a 1.
Hot one.
It's very similar to when we were comparing Derek Carr and Justin Herbert. At the time that we were talking, I felt that Derek Carr played the position of quarterback better than Justin Herbert, but Justin Herbert was a better quarterback. His physical tools and what he can do, he's better. Now you have to take a look at what he's saying here. I think he plays quarterback the best, which is, yeah, he can slide protection. He can make calls to the line, because a lot of these guys haven't had to do that because they're shotgun quarterbacks, right? So I can see where he kind of plays with the words a little bit here, but there's no way, dude. Look, the gap between 1 and the other 5, so Caleb and the other 5 quarterbacks, is wider than the last 5 quarterbacks, and let's say Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler is closer to that group than Caleb. Caleb Williams is just by far and away the better quarterback.
There's a couple elements to this. What Harbaugh is doing is like, there's the obvious, right? Like it was his quarterback. He wants to hype up his guy. But I think more to it is the Chargers pick 5. He wants there to be 5 can't miss prospect quarterbacks. He wants, because if you're at number 5 and everyone's kind of like, all right, everyone's been picked, the top 3 quarterbacks have been picked, and we can take Penix at 25 or Bo Nix in second round or whatever, or JJ McCarthy at 21, whatever it may be, right? That's bad for him. He wants there to be a run at quarterback, a 5 quarterback run at the top of the draft, because he's at number 5. People aren't going to be trading. There's no Sotos out there saying, give me 3 firsts and Maxx Crosby for anything other than quarterback, right? He wants there to be a Soto out there that's like, I need my guy. I want my guy. He's there at 5. I need to trade everything to go grab him. That's what Harbaugh is pitching.
When did I say that?
No, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're the guy that's like,
but you're putting it out there like that, and then our listeners are going to think that, oh yeah, Soto wants to trade at the world for a quarterback.
You do. You're willing to trade.
No, I didn't say that.
For
I said go with the going rate. If he's there, you know.
Well, he wants there to be 5 can't miss quarterbacks, and you need JJ McCarthy to be one of them if there's going to be 5. And so he wants at 5 for there to be quarterback needy teams and for there to be a quarterback available that there's a GM out there willing to throw 3 firsts at him. That's what he's pushing for. So again, I get what he's doing. Next one. Dianna Russini, The Athletic. The Giants are a team showing strong in italics. I don't know if that means I should be singing it. Interest at the quarterback position. Over the last 10 days, they hosted Michael Penix Jr. and privately worked out Drake May and JJ McCarthy. So Dianna Russini is saying Giants showing strong interest at quarterback at number 6.
Yeah, I say that's a 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that before he tore his knee up against us that this franchise was super high on Daniel Jones. I think they were looking for it to play out because I feel like I think Brian Daboll, what he felt was, yeah, he did well under me last year, and this year is a little bit of a kind of a bunch of things went wrong, and then he got hurt. Okay, well, let's give him another go, right? But honestly, I think they're looking for a way out, and they're one of the other kind of sneaky teams that may, even though they have a starting quarterback that they like, I think they're one of the teams that may just grab a guy if they don't get. I think that the Giants desperately want to like the Chargers. They want there to be a big run on quarterbacks because I think they want to trade out because they need a lot more. They need they're not too far back, but they want. There is interest because they're not super high on Daniel Jones, not with his injury history too.
Well, they're in a weird way, almost a weirder situation than the Raiders in that at 6, you're not getting those top 3 or 4 quarterbacks. It's probably going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 at quarterback, and 6 is way too high for like a Penix or a Bo Nix or something like that. So there's kind of like they obviously want a quarterback. They're working out these guys, but they're not picking Penix at 6. They're not doing that. They're working them out, but maybe later. Which leads us to our next one. Adam Schefter said to the New York Daily News beat writer Pat Leonard, to me, in the end, talking about the Giants, this is a team that has enough other needs and a team that is trying to win now that I wouldn't guess they go quarterback at 6 right now. Giants will not go quarterback at number 6 via Adam Schefter.
Shefty's right on, man. That's a 5. They're not going to go quarterback at 6. They're one of the sneaky teams that I'm really afraid of early in the second or to move up and back into the first with their high second round pick. Because it is an issue that they feel it needs to be addressed. They weren't super high on Daniel Jones, like I said, anyway. Plus, he has the injury history now. He had the neck. Now he has the knee. So it's an issue that definitely needs to be addressed. And with a guy coming in like Daboll, he wasn't there and he didn't draft Daniel Jones, so he can say that he gave him a shot and it just didn't work out, and they move on to the guy that he wants. So I think that's a 5. They're not going to, but not at 6.
It's funny how Russini's report and Schefter's report on the surface feel opposite. Like Giants are really interested in quarterback, and then Schefter's like they're not interested in quarterback at 6. They could both be true. I don't think they're going to go quarterback at 6, but they do want a quarterback, but they want to like trade down or trade up from their second spot.
Yeah.
At 6, you're like, no, it's not. Jayden Daniels isn't falling to 6. There isn't a quarterback that should go number 6 in this draft.
Yeah, I would take a strong look at, I think it was at 24. It's the Arizona second first round pick. Mm-hmm. I think that's an area that you might see a lot of attention later in the draft or later on in the first round when it comes up. I think that's a target that a team that's already picked very high that has another pick that is not quarterback needy that will be willing to trade back and accumulate more picks. I think that's the target area right there where we're going to start seeing some chatter happening.
Next one, Matt Miller. who was asked, what is the most surprising thing you've heard about the order in which prospects will come off the board? Matt Miller said, J.J. McCarthy, QB2. If this was one or two people saying it, I'd probably dismiss it as the usual April draft buzz that doesn't come to fruition. But enough sources around the NFL are whispering that McCarthy could very well be the second quarterback off the board, that it has to be considered possible at this point. Whispers saying JJ goes number 2 overall.
I would probably put that at a 4. I'm not saying
really.
I'm not saying
over
that he
Drake
will.
May, over Jayden Daniels.
No. I'm not saying that he will go to, but the question was, are there whispers that JJ can go number 2 overall? And I think that depending on what you're looking for in a quarterback, JJ McCarthy has that good mix of solid fundamentals, good tools, good assets, and he protects the football. Where Jayden Daniels really isn't that. Drake May definitely isn't that. So I can see if someone values having the skills that you can coach up, but also having that ability to take care of the football. I can see where coaches would like JJ number 2 overall.
I can't. I really can't. I think 1, 2, and 3 are pretty solidified, and then 4 is JJ. But again, when you say things like whispers, it just kind of feels like
that's why I said it, because it's like, okay, you're not saying like the question wasn't JJ is number 2 overall. He's the second best quarterback. It was, are there whispers out there? And like I was telling you a couple of weeks ago, the more tape I saw on JJ McCarthy, the more I liked him, the more I saw things that translate really well, and he takes care of the football.
I think those whispers are coming from McCarthy's agent and Harbaugh. So yes, there's whispers, but they're coming from very invested personnel. Next one. Hey, we'll do some defense. The edge class, according to Field Yates, is eliciting varying opinions from around the league. Dallas Turner is probably going to be the first edge rusher going. They haven't pegged up Falcons number 8. Then there's UCLA's Latu, Florida State's Verse. Penn State's Chop Robinson feels like a wild card in it all. He's number 18 on my board. I believe he has a real chance to be the second edge rusher taken based on conversations with multiple people around the scouting community. Field Yates says Chop Robinson, second edge off the board.
I think that's a 2.
Deuce?
The only reason I'm not giving it a 1 is because he's definitely not the number 1 guy. I think it's Dallas Turner, like bar none. But then, I like kind of like with JJ, the question before, it's like who's your flavor, right? I've watched his tape, dude. This guy is really, really, really good. Mm-hmm. He has some issues that some of the other guys don't have. Like he's not like as pure an athlete as what the hell's that dude's name from freaking UCLA? Latu. And he's not the physical presence of a Verse, but he's kind of in between. And he's the closest thing that I've seen. Maybe it's because they wear the same jersey in college, but very similar to like a Micah Parsons in a lot of things that he does. He's not overly big, but he's physical and he's fast. And I can see where he can be the second guy off the board because the team likes him specifically. He has a lot to like that can put him above the other guys, but he's definitely not the first.
I think when defense starts coming off the board after Turner, and there's the corners too. Like corners not including this conversation, but defense is just not deep compared to everything else, like with quarterbacks, tackles, etc., wide receivers. That you're gonna get a weird mix. Like there's people
who fits your scheme. Who do you like?
Well, what I mean by that is like Latu is the best defensive player on the draft, minus the fact that he like broke his neck and retired and then had to come back and look better than ever. Like if medical people, like if you're a coach or a GM that's like really listening to your medical people, then that could be a guy where like, look, I'm trading up to 15 to get him. So I think that's the issue here is he's the guy where it's like if Chop Robinson falls to you, you're like, okay, this could work. But I think Jerod and Latu are guys like I could see guys moving up a few spots to grab him like late second or late first, early second. Rest Chop's kind of like steady Eddie. If he falls to us, great type of thing.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
mean, lot to. I mean, as far as the defensive players in this draft go, I think I think it is deep. It's just not super top heavy.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of good corners. There's not that like dog corner. That guy is like, oh, this guy is going to be amazing. The Sauce Gardner type guy. There's not that. Dallas Turner's really good. I don't know if he's not Myles Garrett, right? Like he's not
Mhm.
that type of like, oh, top of the freaking draft board. You got to get this guy. There's some interior guys that are really good as well, but they're not those like, oh, the guy that we should have got last year. I'm not going to name his name. But yeah, there's depth, but it's not very top heavy defensively this year.
Moving on, Colin Cowherd said this on Monday's show. All right, I have been told the Washington Commanders right now, as of today, would choose Jayden Daniels, LSU quarterback, as their top pick.
That's a 5. That's a 5.
He got a rock solid source. The Commanders are going Jayden Daniels at 2.
Well, the thing is, he qualified it as of today, as of that day, as of right we're talking right now. Yes, I believe that's going to be the pick. Yeah, I just think he's there's a lot. In my breakdown of Drake May, there's a couple things that I was very concerned about. He doesn't see the rush very well, and if you can't protect yourself as a quarterback, you're not going to have a very long career. If you can't identify the blitz, if you identify guys late, that's going to be an issue. On top of that, he doesn't do well in high pressure situations. This dude, in the last 2 years, in the first half, he was like 39 touchdowns and 4 picks. You can fact check me on this. In the first half, the last 2 years, 39 touchdowns, 4 picks. In the second half, 24 touchdowns, 12 picks. So crunch time, he turns the ball over a lot more. So those couple things, it's those little things can really separate players from one another. And although he's big, he's Justin Herbert-esque, right? That's my closest comparison to a quarterback in the NFL is Justin Herbert. But he's a little bit more loose with the football as far as, turning the ball over, when it matters most.
Look, I think Cowherd's full of shit. Not that I don't think Jayden Daniels could be the number 2 best quarterback in the draft, or that I think that Commanders couldn't go Jayden Daniels at 2. It has nothing to do with the actual quarterback play or where they could go. To me, it's just the whole right now, as of today, with that qualifier that you mentioned, makes me think, okay, he wants a way to get out of this if it doesn't go number 2.
Things change.
Which tells me it's like, yeah, maybe he had like an assistant scout kind of shoot him a text on something, as opposed to like, yeah, no, it's rock solid. If the draft was today, that's where I'm going. Again, not saying Jayden Daniels couldn't be number 2 because he's not good enough. Nothing to do with the play of May or Daniels. It's just how he phrased it. Like, I'm not quite as firm on it as you are, Soto. Last one. Going to the Cardinals' number 4 pick, Armando Salguero. Spoke to Monty Austinfort, the GM of the Cardinals. Austinfort has in conversations made it known it's in the best interest of the Cardinals to pick up 3 first-round picks for the number 4 overall selection if he has to drop a significant amount in the first round. So the cost of the Cardinals' number 4 pick is a hard number currency, 3 first-rounders.
Yeah, that's I'm sure that's what he wants, but I think it's a 1. I don't think he's going to sit there and say you have to give me 3 first rounders.
Yeah, you're like, hey, I'll give you 2 firsts and 2 seconds. He's like, nope, not going to do it.
He'll do that all
it's
day.
3 firsts. No way. Yeah,
it's that's BS. The thing that we're talking about here is, I don't know that he's going to value the player that's going to be there more than like you said, just because you said it, 2 1s and 2 2s. I just don't think he's going to do that.
No,
I think
he's advertising. He's advertising the sticker price of the vehicle, but he's willing to he's willing to negotiate.
Yeah, it's like, what did Tony Montana say? I know how this works. You go high, I go low. We meet somewhere in the middle. Work with me.
Yeah.
So here's a couple things too. They have another first-round pick. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if they trade to, let's say, for example, we trade to number 4, and then we take a quarterback. And at number 5, the Giants are like, well, we're going to take a receiver, and then they take a tackle with the Chargers, and then another guy takes a tackle at 7, which is the Titans take a tackle, right? So, and then they're getting close to like, another receiver being taken. They can package their 13 and 24 to get moved back up and get the guy that a receiver that they want. So I don't know that it's imperative for them to get 3 first. Will they take it? Of course, but it's not going to be a hill they're going to die on.
They are going to trade out of 4 for the best offer. They're not. I don't think they're staying at 4. I don't think. I think they're going to trade out of 4 to whatever the best offer is. They hope it's 3 firsts, but if the best offer is a first and a second, for whatever reason, right? Like whatever reason, all this quarterback talk we thought was all bullshit. They're trading for a first and a second. Like they're moving out of that spot. All right, Truthometer, put her to work today. Well done, Truthometer. We'll be calling on you later.
Unplug that sucker to give it a rest.
Other lying times that happen in this football season. So Mark Davis has been relatively quiet this offseason. After he made the hire, made it all official, did the presser, he's kind of just been, hey, I'm just going to hang out with my Cirque du Soleil girlfriend.
Too busy piping.
Cruising around in my all-white suit and my fanny pack, just living the life of a inherited billionaire.
No, bro, it's the mock turtleneck, long sleeve tucked into the stonewashed jeans.
Just living.
With the Nikes and the white leather fanny pack.
The walking dad shoes. But apparently he's chimed in on something. A report by Paul Gutierrez of ESPN. Sources say Raiders owner Mark Davis has given his blessing for Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce to make a move. Any move, so long as it makes sense. Read into that what you will. So obviously not going into deep detail here, but it does sound to me like Mark Davis is taking the reins off of his GM and coach and kind of giving his blessing on like, all right, I more or less trust what you're going to do. Again, qualifying with like, don't do something insane, but you can go ahead and make whatever moves you feel is in the best needs of this Raiders franchise. There's a lot more to read into it though.
Yeah. When you break it down, the last part is very important. Makes sense to who? If it makes sense, if it needs to make sense to Mark Davis, they're still having to run that stuff through Mark Davis.
Yeah.
So that's the important part of that whole thing is as long as it makes sense, yeah, sell me on it. Give me your logic. If I can follow the logic, okay, fine. We can do it. It just know it's your ass.
I would love to know as the seasons roll on, hopefully the seasons roll on with this squad because that means we're winning, right? Davis, Telesco, and AP. What that relationship's like. Are they just keeping Mark Davis abreast of the situation? Like he's just like, hey, Mark, this is what we're doing. You're the owner. You want to keep up to date, just letting you know. Or are they asking permission? Those are 2 very different meetings. 2 very, very different situations.
Honestly, I don't know if it's a permission. I think it's just kind of like on board.
What makes you say that? Is it just a feel, or did you read something or see something that makes you?
From what I've been reading, it's like, yeah, I'm hands off. I want to let them do their job, but then little things like, as long as it makes sense, go for it. Which is like, hey, present me what you want to do, just keep me in the loop, type of thing, right? That's kind of like a boss that I am. Like I'm very like, look, I'm going to teach you how I do things here. And how I think they get done the best. If you do things your own way, as long as it's as good or better than the way that I'm showing you how to do it, fine. Do it your own way if you're more comfortable. But if it doesn't, then you're gonna do it my way. So very similar to Mark Davis, I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna let you do your thing. Just keep me in the loop on what's going on. But if it doesn't work, just know it's gonna be on you.
If any good can come out of the disasters that turned out to be the John Gruden hire and then Josh McDaniels hire, is that hopefully it unstar fucks Mark Davis. he just seems like such a star fucker. He just wants celebrities around him. He's selling, by all reports, he's selling Tom Brady a chunk of the team for cents on the pennies on the dollar. For whatever reason, he just wants stars around him, right? Hopefully, the disaster that his last two big star hires turned into make him say, how about we just do what's good? Like, fuck Twitter followers and how popular these guys are and who's trending. Let's just get the right guys and just stay hands off. That's hopefully what I hope you learned. And for the longest time, I always thought, like, look, owners of pro teams, write the checks and get out of the way. Get out of the way. Hire good people. Like, it is, again, ultimately your responsibility to hire the right people, team president, GM, who, coach. Maybe you want the GM to do it, maybe do.
There's nothing wrong with checking in, though, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm moving on. Like, I'm with you on the checking in. But because it's your franchise. Like, it's your toy. You know what I mean?
Look,
it's your toy. Like,
I think Trick Daddy said it the best in the chart topper. Take it to the house. He said, "Fuck the fame. I'm trying to get paid. Born and raised in the county of Dade, which is Miami's in Dade County. So yeah, I'm not worried about all these people who know me. I'm trying to get paid. I'm not worried about how many Twitter followers my head coach has. I want to win games."
Well, Trick wasn't born a billionaire like Mark Davis was, because he's the opposite. He's like, fuck the money. I want the fame.
Billionaire either. He was only a millionaire when he was born.
Well, that's all. He was.
I mean, honestly, wait. If you I don't think Al Davis was a millionaire when Mark Davis was born either.
My point is, Mark Davis is doing the opposite. He has the money. He wants the fame, right? Like, him and Trick Daddy are looking for opposite things because they were born different things. My point being is,
I'm just giving you shit, RJ.
There are franchises, because generally my rule is, like, again, you hire a team president, GM, and then hands off. If you get that right, write the checks. Don't do anything else. Right? Enjoy your skybox. Watch your team. Brag to your other billionaire buddies. Bring your CEO, Fortune 500 CEOs along with you to watch, etc. But then I have to look around the NFL and see that there's certain franchises through different team presidents, different GMs, different coaches, different quarterbacks that are always ran well. They'll have down years, like they'll have a losing record, but it still ran well. The cycle goes and they're normally doing well. There are plenty of franchises like that. And that's ownership. That's stable ownership on top. So I'm still with the mindset of hands off, especially Mark Davis, who's proven that he isn't a good hands-on owner. Like, the hires he's made on his own. The record of the franchise since he took over speaks for itself. Like, that's, maybe he can learn to be better, right? Maybe he learned from the last two experiences of the last two bad hires and he's getting better, which would be great. But as of right now, Mark Davis should be a hands-off owner. But the good owners that are hands-on, they keep franchises stable for decades. Not, they had a good run in 2014, 15, and 16. It's no, for decades, their franchise is on a good path. So there's something to be said about owners with hands-on.
Well, yeah, I mean, if the owners are making the right decisions, there's Carolina who's the owner's hands-on, but throwing drinks at fans and stuff. I mean, it's all about the guy. It's all about the right guy. It's less about the process and more about the person. Because if the person makes good, sound decisions, they can be a little bit more hands-off than another franchise because he puts the right people in there. But by and large, like you said, it's they are making sure that things are running properly.
And it's being honest with yourself. Like, it's knowing yourself. Like, Mark Davis, he needs to be able to look at the wake that he's leaving behind his yacht and seeing, like, things don't look too great back there. Let me get this right and then get out of the way. Let me find someone who knows what they're doing and get out of the way, as opposed to, like, I'm the owner, I'm a genius, I'm the businessman, I'm the one that got us here to Vegas. I'm now raking in billions with the Legion Stadium. I know what's right. I know what's going to work. I'm going to keep my hands on things. It's honest with yourself. It's one of the hardest things a man can do, but one of the most important things a man can do.
Definitely.
We're doing some What Up Windbags?
Yes, sir.
Clint Westwood. Love it. I want to just assume that you can get Penix in the mid-20s. Seattle 6 at 16, and they need a young quarterback. And his offensive coordinator from University of Washington is now with the Seahawks. Follow the breadcrumbs. You can't assume anything in this draft, and certainly there's a connection there with Washington. or with Seattle at 16. But Penix is, if this wasn't how quarterbacks are valued, Penix is like a late second rounder. He might go first. He'll probably go
second. He's probably in the overall ranking. I would put him probably like in the high 40s, mid 50s in that range. But look, like you said, like that was one of the teams that I talked about earlier. One of those stinky teams that might just swoop in and take a guy that you want later in the draft because of the situation that they're in. Geno kind of came down to earth last year a little bit after having a pretty stellar year before. He's getting a little bit older. You got a new regime in there now. Maybe want to get their own guy and groom their own guy. Yeah, it all lines up, but ultimately, I don't think if Penix didn't have the injury history and was the player that he has been, I think he would go probably naturally in the top 15, maybe 15 to 20 by himself. Regardless of who other quarterbacks are out there, he'd probably be one of the better quarterbacks out there. That does scare people. That does scare teams, and it's going to cut down. I'm not going to say all, but at least a few teams are going to take him off the board because of the medical.
Well, that's where the misinformation battle goes, right? Because if the Raiders are like, yeah, I think we're down for Penix, but we don't want to do 13. We can get more value if we trade down to the 20s. Seattle at 16 is what makes you second guess that, right? Seattle at 16 is where you're like, shit.
The Rams at 19. Like there's a couple teams out there.
Yeah. Raider 1961. I think Tom Telesco could give a rip what Davante Adams thinks. Tom Telesco will do what Tom wants to do. As far as the Raiders care about what Davante thinks, that's just like saying Joe Biden is a great president, LOL. I can see Davante with us for 2024, but I won't be surprised 2025. He's gone. Again, we can always, like, as Raider Nation, as the Windbags, like, we know Tom Telesco's draft history, the moves he's made. We've read it, right? But we didn't live and breathe Tom Telesco the way Charger fans did, right? Like, I know what made John Gruden tick. Like, I knew what made Reggie McKenzie tick because I read it all day long. I heard every word he said, everything, every move he did. You can start knowing a man that way. I don't know Telesco like that yet because, again, I didn't follow him with the Chargers. I looked up who he drafted and where and all that stuff. But as far as who he is, what his motivations are, how he deals with players, I don't know. At this point, though, Tom Telesco seems like a guy that would absolutely listen to the best wide receiver on your team and maybe like the second or third best player on your team, who's a pretty stable guy, right? Sometimes your best player is a wild card, kind of, a loose cannon. Davante Adams is a straight shooter, seen it all, smart guy, says what he thinks, doesn't look for attention, just wants to win right now and a wealth of knowledge. Tom Telesco doesn't strike me as a guy stupid enough to be like, fuck that guy. Why would I care? Why would I want information from him? That makes no sense.
So I was thinking about this, and I think there's no read on what kind of drafter Tom Telesco is, because he does exactly what he said he wants to do, is get with the head coach and what kind of players do you want that fit what you want to do, and who are those players in this draft. So because he's worked with multiple different coaches, I think he's had different strategies going in as far as what holes to fill and what type of guys fit what they want to do. Mm-hmm. That's why it's kind of hard to pin down what he's going to do. But I think he's going to do what's going to be best for this team. And I think that's a good way to go about it, because you're building a team that you have right now. You're not trying to build a team that you had before. He's not trying to make another Chargers here. He's building this team to be the best team this team can be. And some of those components may not be exactly the same. So I think that he is going to do exactly what he wants to do, but what he wants to do does incorporate a lot of different information.
And the last part, saying I can see Davante with us for 2024, but wouldn't be surprised if he's gone after that. Look, he's definitely not going anywhere this season with that cap hit. Like, there's no chance. Every this last offseason, like, it made fun rumors. Like, what could we get for him? Does he want out? There's not a chance. 2025, if 2024 is another fiasco, and make no mistake, Davante Adams came to the Raiders to win playoff games and Super Bowls. It has been far from that. It has been a disaster for Davante Adams. Make no mistake. Like, what he intended it to be, It has been opposite. If that continues this season, there's a very good chance Davante asks for a trade after 2024.
Yeah, hey, I give you guys 3 years. It's not working out. I don't have that much time left. I'd like to win before I'm done.
Josh McDaniels turned me into a non-Pro Bowler.
It's true.
I want out. I'm Davante fucking Adams, and Josh McDaniels turned me into a non-Pro Bowler. You think I want to stick around and keep getting dragged through the mud? I'm Davante Adams.
Well, look,
I'm the man.
The first year he was a Pro Bowler. The second year, 5 out of 17 was 7 out of 17. So he's 7/17 didn't make him a Pro Bowler.
7/17.
10/17 was your
Everyone
boy
else.
AP.
Mario Serrano 6333. Antonio Pierce also said that Aidan O'Connell needs to be more vocal as a leader, and they want a mobile QB1. AP is being politically correct.
Yes.
So this is Antonio Pierce saying QB1 runs through Aidan O'Connell, which technically, I don't know. Actually, like first day of training camp, I bet you Minshew's QB1 on the totally doesn't mean anything, but like first, like
it does mean something.
Depth chart, nah, it doesn't.
It does mean something, dude.
He's just the veteran. Well, it means that he's the veteran that's making more money. So it's like, all right, QB1,
the incumbent, dude. I don't know. I don't know that. What's up, buddy? What do you think?
Say bunts, income bunts. Come for some bunt cake.
This fool. I'm running late for work.
We almost made a whole show without a cat appearance.
And this guy decides to run outside and hide in the bushes, chasing after I don't know what. Yeah, I'm telling on you, buddy. He's like he was really good about the door. Now every time I open the door, I have to like stick a foot out and make sure he doesn't try to run out.
Make a run for it.
Yeah.
He's like, stop having sex with me, Soto. I'm a cat. This is illegal. Leave me alone.
That's not nice.
I don't know. I mean, they want a mobile quarterback. I mean, everyone wants a mobile quarterback, but is that a make or break? I don't know about that part. But it does sound like AP is playing a little bit of mind games. Positive mind games with Aidan O'Connell. It's like, yeah, he's the guy. He's the man. Why would you say anything other than that? Why would you be like, yeah, the quarterback that we haven't drafted yet and may not come in is who I want? Hype up your young guy. Hype up your second-year player.
That's why I think he's going to be number one going into camp. He's going to be number one. He's going to take the number one snaps initially, but it's going to be a dogfight no matter what. Mm-hmm. The issue that I'm noticing here is there's always a yeah but. Mm-hmm. Well, we got these two guys. We're very comfortable with them. I think we can win a lot of games with these guys. But we're also going to looking to see what we can add in the draft. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of teams probably picking later in the first round who aren't saying anything like that. Yeah. Because they already have their guy. If you have your guy, you're not looking for another guy. Grab one 4th, 5th, 6th round, something like that, just to, have a fresh body back there to develop. But yeah, make no mistake, he's not sold on anyone that he has on his roster right now being the guy to lead the team.
I feel like AP treats Aidan O'Connell different than everybody else. Like he'll be complimentary of his guys, but he's the guy that he's constantly talking up and constantly just like shoving a turkey baster full of confidence into his second-year quarterback.
He was there for the whole thing, man. He was there for that debacle, how he was treated by Josh McDaniels. And make no mistake, it wasn't great. He wasn't treated well by Josh McDaniels, even in the media. I mean, he's the one that said after the Bears game, after that Bears debacle where Hoyer played like absolute dog shit, why didn't you put Aidan in sooner? Hey, it's not the preseason. So it's like he was very dismissive of what Aidan O'Connell could do while he was still on his team. Mm-hmm. So make no mistake about it. If he's willing to, pronouns, pal. If Josh McDaniels is willing to talk about him like that to the media, what is he doing behind closed doors in practices? How is he treating him? It wasn't a great situation for him. AP was there for the whole thing. So kind of like showing them it doesn't have to be this way. The pros don't have to be this way. I think it's a good move by AP.
And he does have the like you don't want to see him sad face. Aidan O'Connell, it's like a 4-year-old's face, just with the mustache.
With the mustache.
Yeah, it's like when he's sad, you become sad. He's got that face.
You know what's funny, dude? When I saw a picture of Garoppolo, Hoyer, and O'Connell like from behind when they were like walking onto the practice field, Aidan O'Connell is significantly bigger than both of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like Garoppolo is bigger than Hoyer, but Aidan O'Connell was significantly taller and larger than Jimmy Garoppolo, like significantly bigger.
Aidan O'Connell is he's 25. He's only like a year younger than Gardner Minshew, which is crazy, right? He's a second-year player, but he hasn't lost his baby fat big. He's like a baby Huey big. Like he's just like this hulking figure that's not a lot of fast twitch, but it's just a lot of mass.
So there's a old wrestler. His name was Beautiful Bobby Eaton, and the more he worked out, the more out of shape he looked. He just had this pudgy looking body, but the dude could go. He was like a super freaking like athletic guy and could do a lot of great things in wrestling, but he just didn't have that body. And I just think it's, not everyone can be blessed like us, RJ.
I know. Why do we have to be so goddamn good looking? Why can't we have like golden arms that can throw footballs? Instead, we're just charming, debonair, sexual tyrannosauruses. Well, that's it for us. We will keep you up to date on everything that's going on in free agency leading up to the draft. 2 weeks away from the draft. We'll have a great live show Thursday nights.
I will try to do Friday and maybe some Saturday.
Okay.
Try.
That's all we can ask for.
I did Friday last year. And I did some Saturday. It was getting pretty rough. That Saturday was getting pretty rough.
Yeah. Just do your best.
Try my best.
Your best. Losers do their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
Yeah.
Gail was the prom queen. Who movie's that from? Let us know. We'll leave you with that. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me.